Hi, my name is Erin Russek and I am the creator of the Jingle Quilt. And I'm really happy to be here to talk about it with you today. As you can tell, it's very Christmassy because it's the Jingle Quilt. But I just want you to know that the Jingle Quilt is not just for Christmas. And to demonstrate that, I've made a couple of blocks. They're not completely stitched yet, with different colorways so you can see how else you can make this quilt. So this one is very springy. It's your quilt. Who says you can't have hot pink birds on your quilt if you want to? I thought this one looked really fun and could be really bright and cheery and spring-like. And this one, I replaced some of the Christmassy fabric with this blue fabric to give it a more summery 4th of July feel. So that is other ways that you can make the Jingle Quilt that aren't necessarily Christmas, and then you can enjoy the quilt all year round. So coming up, I want to show a few techniques that I use to make almost every quilt. They make applique very, very accessible and enjoyable to stitch, and I couldn't do it without it. Now I'm going to show you the technique I use to make all my applique shapes. Here I have a piece of heat-resistant template plastic that I have traced the shape onto and cut out and made sure the edges are smooth. And I have traced that onto the back side of the applique fabric that I want to use. Now to make the shape, I hold the template onto the back side of the fabric and I use a dilute starch and a #1 stencil brush to just dab the starch on the seam allowance, and I start to turn it up. Now I'm going to move that out of the way. I'm going to just hit it with the iron. I'm using just a regular iron I bought at the hardware store, and I slowly work around the shape, pressing until the starch is dry and the shape has its seam allowance all turned to the back. I really like doing this technique because then you can just enjoy stitching and you don't have to worry about turning things under while you stitch, and it makes it really enjoyable. So here I'm just going to flip this over and I'm going to bend these little points under, and then I'm just going to hit it with the starch again, just really lightly, and press this side. I like to bend the little corners under, and then I dab it with starch and I press those. And when you're pressing, you just want to press until the starch is dry, but don't press too much because then you'll just overheat everything. Same thing on this side. I'm just going to bend that little point under and dab some starch and hit it with the iron. When you're ironing these things, you want to use medium heat and dry, no steam. That is all there is to it. So here I have this really nice shape. The edges are all turned. I'm just going to press it, make sure everything is nice and dry. And then I can just pop this shape out, and I have my applique shape all ready to stitch, and I have this template that I can use again to make all the other leaves. So the other technique I use is for making these little baskets and complex shapes. So for this one, the template I used is two sheets of freezer paper that I've ironed together. Then I iron it to the back side of the applique fabric, and with that is really great. So when you're doing all this pressing, this is stuck to the fabric and then you peel it off afterwards, and that way it's not moving all around while you're trying to press your shape. Another thing I do here is with these inside curves, I have clipped this so it's easy to turn, and then inside points I've also clipped. This is terrific, and then you get really nice results. And then on the actual block, here's this block that I made in the alternative colorway, none of this is stitched. All of this is ready to stitch. I can take this anywhere and stitch it. Here our basket, you just use a few dots of applique glue and glue it down. And then you can just, it's very portable. You're not stressing about turning things under while you're stitching, and it makes for a really fun time to stitch, and it also gives you really great results. I hope you try it.